Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're going to be diving deep into qualifying buyers.
Oh, yeah.
So, really figuring out who's serious and ready to buy a home,
Exactly.
which I think is something that every real estate agent is constantly working on and trying to refine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and, it's really about making sure you're spending your time wisely
Absolutely.
as an agent, right?
Yeah.
And making sure that you're really focused on those clients who are ready to move.
Yeah.
We've got a ton of great sources here, articles, some research, even some personal notes that we've collected.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive in.
Awesome. So, at the end of the day, this deep dive should give you some really actionable strategies
For sure.
to help you close more deals. And
Yeah, and build those really strong relationships too, right? Because
that's such a good point.
when you understand your buyers, you can really help them find a home they'll love.
Exactly. You're not just selling a house.
Yeah.
You're finding them a place where they can actually build a life.
Yeah.
I love that. So let's talk strategy. What are some of the biggest mistakes you see agents making when they're trying to qualify buyers?
Well, one of the biggest ones is skipping that in-depth conversation at the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
Thinking they can figure it all out from just a few quick questions.
Just assuming things?
Yeah, it's like trying to build a house without a blueprint.
Ooh, I like that analogy.
You might end up with something, but it might not be what the client actually wanted.
Exactly. Or it takes twice as long to get there.
Yeah.
So how do we lay that solid foundation? What question should we be asking right off the bat?
Well, the classic ones are always a good place to start. Budget, desired location, property type, their timeline.
Right, the basics.
But it's important to go deeper than that. For example, when you're talking about budget, don't just focus on how much they can get a loan for.
Yeah.
Dig into their overall financial picture. How do they feel about things like property taxes or HOA fees?
Oh, that's smart.
You could even ask them, what if interest rates went up a little bit? Would that change your decision at all?
Well, that's a really good one because that shows their flexibility, right?
Mm.
Like how much wiggle room they really have.
Exactly.
Okay. So we've got budget down. What about location? Any tips for digging deeper there?
Yeah, I always try to figure out the why behind their location preferences.
Okay.
So, are they looking for a specific school district for their kids? Do they need to be close to public transportation for their commute? Or maybe they're drawn to a certain neighborhood vibe.
I see you're trying to get to the heart of their motivation.
Right.
It's not just about checking boxes. It's about understanding their story.
Exactly.
Now, you mentioned the BANT method earlier.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
I've heard that acronym thrown around, but I'll admit I'm not totally sure how to use it effectively in real estate.
Okay, sure.
Can you break that down for us?
Absolutely. So, BANT stands for Budget, Authority, Need, and Timeline.
Got it.
We've already touched on budget, and we'll get to need and timeline later.
Okay.
But authority in real estate can be tricky because sometimes the decision maker isn't obvious right away. Oh, yeah, you might be talking to one person who's super excited.
Right.
And then their spouse comes in with totally different priorities.
Exactly. Or a parent who's helping with the down payment.
Oh, yeah, that happens too.
Yeah.
So how do you navigate that? How do you figure out who's really calling the shots without being too intrusive?
I usually just casually ask, will anyone else be involved in this decision?
Oh, that's good. It's simple but effective.
Yeah. And it opens the door for them to tell you about any other key players.
Smartly. Smart. Okay, so we've covered budget and authority. Let's move on to N need.
Okay.
We talked about basic needs, like, how many bedrooms they want. But I have a feeling there's more to it than that.
Oh, definitely.
How do we dig deeper into their needs, especially on an emotional level?
Well, you've got to ask questions that tap into their lifestyle, their dreams,
Ooh, I like that.
their vision for the future. Ask them something like, imagine your perfect weekend in your new home. What are you doing? Who's there with you? What feeling do you want to experience in that space? Wow, I love that question.
Yeah.
That really paints a picture.
Right.
You're inviting them to step into their future selves.
Exactly. And as they describe that vision, you'll start to uncover those emotional needs. Like a sense of peace,
Okay.
or a space for connection, or a home that really reflects their style.
It's like we're unlocking a whole new layer of information.
Yeah, it goes beyond that practical checklist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So instead of just pointing out features, we're telling a story.
Right. A story that aligns with their dreams.
Exactly. That's powerful. Okay, so we've got budget, authority, need.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the T in BANT, timeline.
Okay.
We all know time is precious in this business.
Yeah,
So understanding a buyer's timeline is super important.
for sure.
But it's not just about knowing when they want to move.
Yeah,
It's about understanding the why behind their time frame. So
exactly.
explain that a little bit.
Yeah.
What kind of insights can we get from that?
Well, let's say a buyer says they need to be in their new home by the start of the school year.
Okay.
Pretty common. Right, but it's even more helpful to understand why that deadline is so important. Are they relocating for a new job? Are they trying to get their kids settled in a new school before the chaos starts?
I see you're putting their timeline into context.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And once you understand that context, you can adjust your approach accordingly.
So if they're in a rush, you might prioritize properties that are move-in ready.
Exactly. Or you might suggest a lender who can speed up the pre-approval process.
It's all about being proactive and anticipating their needs.
Right.
I like it. Now, this brings us to another crucial aspect of qualifying buyers, and that is assessing their emotional readiness.
Oh, that's a big one.
What does emotional readiness even mean in real estate? How can we tell if a buyer is truly ready for this whole journey?
It's about their mindset, their expectations, and their ability to handle the ups and downs that come with buying a home.
Right, because it can be a roller coaster.
Oh, for sure. Some buyers are coming in super excited and ready to go, while others might be anxious or have baggage from past experiences.
So it's about meeting them where they're at emotionally.
Exactly. Some buyers might need a lot of hand-holding and reassurance,
Okay.
while others might be more independent and prefer to take the lead. It's your job to read those cues and adapt your approach.
So we're kind of like therapists in a way, trying to understand their underlying emotions.
Well, we're not therapists.
Right, of course not.
But we do need to be empathetic and pay attention to their emotional state.
Yeah, and sometimes that means recognizing that a buyer might not be ready.
Absolutely.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
How do you handle that conversation delicately but honestly? You don't want to lose a client, but you also don't want to set them up for a bad experience.
Yeah, it's definitely a balance. You just have to be open and honest. You could say something like, I'm sensing that you might be feeling a little overwhelmed right now. It's a big decision, and it's okay to take some time to think things through.
I like that. It gives them permission to slow down.
Right. And if they need more time or support, you can let them know that you're there for them when they're ready.
So we've talked about asking the right questions, understanding needs, and even assessing their emotional readiness.
Yeah.
But in today's world, we can't ignore the power of technology.
Oh, absolutely.
So how can technology help us qualify buyers more efficiently?
Well, think of it as a toolkit that can really amp up your efforts.
I like that. So what tools should every agent be adding to their tech toolkit?
A CRM system is a must-have. It's like having a personal assistant that keeps track of all your interactions.
Okay, I've heard of CRMs, but honestly, I'm a little overwhelmed by all the options out there.
I bet.
What features should we be looking for specifically for real estate?
Make sure it integrates with your other tools, like your email and your calendar.
Okay, makes sense.
And features like automated follow-ups, lead scoring, and customizable reports can be really helpful.
So it's about creating a streamlined system that keeps everything organized and helps us stay on top of things.
Exactly.
And then there are all those online applications and pre-qualification tools.
Oh, those are game changers.
So it's like giving buyers a sneak peek behind the curtain before they even start seriously looking.
Exactly. It helps manage expectations right from the start.
Saves everyone a lot of time and headaches in the long run.
Yeah.
Any specific tools you recommend?
There are a bunch of good ones out there. Some popular options include mention 2-3 specific pre-qualification tools.
Okay, I'll check those out.
You can even integrate some of them right into your website or CRM.
Oh, that's convenient.
Makes it super easy for buyers to get started.
It's all about creating a smooth experience, right?
Exactly.
Now, we can't forget about virtual tours and video calls. Those have become essential these days.
Oh, they're lifesavers.
I have so many clients who are just so busy, or maybe they're relocating from another city.
Right.
Virtual tours allow them to visit properties without even leaving their homes.
Yeah, it saves everyone so much time.
Instead of driving all over town, you can narrow down the options virtually and then focus on the properties that they truly love.
Exactly. It's like a virtual pre-screening process.
I love that. And then video calls are great for those follow-up conversations.
Absolutely. Keep that face-to-face connection going.
Maintain that momentum. But with all this technology, do you ever worry that we're losing that personal touch?
That's a good point. It's something we need to be mindful of. Technology should enhance our interactions, not replace them.
Right. It's still about building rapport, listening attentively, and connecting with our buyers on a human level.
Absolutely.
It's all about finding that balance.
Yeah, going back to the emotional side of things.
Okay.
There are a few more specific cues you can watch for that give you insight into a buyer's mindset.
I'm all ears.
Pay
What are some telltale signs?
attention to their excitement versus apprehension. A buyer who's really excited about the process is more likely to be engaged.
Yeah, they're going to be asking questions, eager to see properties.
Right, they'll have positive energy.
That's contagious.
But a buyer who's hesitant might second-guess themselves or seem unsure.
Okay, that makes sense. What about those buyers who might be hiding their true feelings? Are there any subtle signs of anxiety, even if they're trying to seem positive?
Body language can be very revealing.
Okay.
Pay attention to things like eye contact, facial expressions, and posture.
Okay.
A stressed buyer might avoid eye contact or fidget or cross their arms.
It's like we're becoming human lie detectors.
We're not quite.
Might, but
But being attuned to those nonverbal cues can give you valuable information.
it's another layer of understanding.
Right.
Another piece of the puzzle.
And another thing to consider is their communication style.
Oh, yeah.
Some buyers are very direct, while others might be more indirect or hesitant to really say what they want.
I've definitely seen both. Some buyers give me detailed lists of their must-haves, while others are more vague or afraid to share their true desires.
Yeah.
How do you adjust your communication style to connect with all those different personalities?
It's all about mirroring. If they're direct, be direct back. If they're more indirect, soften your approach.
Meet them where they are,
Exactly.
both emotionally and communication-wise.
Right. Now let's talk about the financial side of qualifying buyers.
Okay, we touched on budget earlier,
Yeah.
but I know there's more to it than that.
Oh, definitely.
What are some financial red flags that we should be looking out for?
Well, one big one is a reluctance to talk about their finances openly and honestly.
Okay.
If they're evasive about their income or debt or credit score, it could be a sign that they're not ready for the mortgage process.
That makes sense. Buying a home is a huge financial commitment.
Yeah, transparency is key.
Speaking of transparency, what about a lack of pre-approval?
Oh, that's a big one. A pre-approval letter shows that a lender has actually looked at their finances and is willing to lend them money.
So it's like a financial stamp of approval.
Exactly. And it gives both the buyer and the agent a realistic picture of what they can afford.
Okay.
If they're dragging their feet on getting pre-approved, it could be a sign that they're not as serious as they seem.
Or maybe they're hiding something.
Yeah, potentially.
Okay, I'm seeing how crucial that pre-approval is. It's not just a formality.
No, it's an important step.
It sets the stage for a successful journey.
Speaking of foundations, let's talk about down payment savings.
Oh, yeah.
A buyer who has diligently saved a good chunk of money for a down payment is showing you they're financially responsible.
Right. It shows commitment.
Exactly. It shows lenders that they're serious about homeownership.
Now, what if a buyer is struggling to come up with a down payment? How do you approach that conversation?
It's about education and empowerment. You could say something like, I know saving for a down payment can be tough. There are programs and grants out there that can help you.
Oh, that's good. You're being a resource for them,
Exactly.
helping them navigate the financial side of things. Okay, let's switch gears for a second and talk about something that's often overlooked, and that is the buyer's personality and lifestyle.
Ooh, yeah, that's important.
I've had clients who, on paper, seemed perfect for a property,
Right.
but then their personality just clashed with the neighborhood or the style of the home.
It happens.
How do we factor in those intangible things?
You have to ask questions that reveal their lifestyle, their hobbies, their social tendencies.
Okay.
Do you like quiet neighborhoods or busy ones? Are you outdoorsy or a homebody? What are your favorite things to do?
You're painting a picture of their life.
Exactly.
Then you can match them with a property that fits.
And sometimes it's about reading between the lines. If they talk about wanting a low-maintenance home, it might mean they value simplicity over luxury.
Interesting. That's like we're lifestyle detectives.
Kind of.
But with all this talk about finding the perfect property, are we setting unrealistic expectations? Because no home is perfect, right?
That's true, and it's important to manage expectations. We're not looking for perfection, we're looking for alignment.
Alignment.
Yeah, between their needs, their budget, their lifestyle, and what's actually available.
That's a good way to put it. And sometimes finding that alignment means helping them prioritize
Exactly.
their must-haves versus their nice-to-haves. How do we help them make those tough decisions, especially when they're feeling overwhelmed?
One thing I like to do is have them create a top 3 list for each category.
Okay,
So their top 3 must-have features, their top 3 locations, their top 3 deal breakers,
that's simple but effective.
forces them to be specific.
It's like a roadmap for their decision making.
Exactly. Now, have you ever worked with a buyer who just couldn't seem to make a decision?
Oh yeah, all the time. It's like they're stuck in this cycle of indecision.
It can be so frustrating.
They tour tons of properties, make offers that fall through, constantly second-guess themselves.
Analysis paralysis.
Yes. What causes that, and how do we help them break free?
Well, fear is often at the root of it.
Okay.
They might be afraid of making a mistake or missing a better opportunity or just the unknown in general.
So we have to help them overcome their fears.
Exactly. And sometimes that means challenging their assumptions or reframing their perspective.
Mm-hmm.
You might say, I understand you want the perfect home, but remember, no home is perfect. What's important is finding one that you love and that fits your life.
Shifting their focus from perfection to alignment.
Right. And helping them understand that making a decision, even if it's not perfect, is better than being stuck.
Because any decision is better than no decision.
Exactly. At least they're moving forward.
And sometimes that means trusting your gut.
Absolutely.
I've had clients who overthink every little detail.
Yeah.
How do we help them tap into their intuition?
Ask them to imagine themselves in the home and notice how it makes them feel.
Oh, I like that.
What's their gut reaction?
You're helping them tune into their heart.
Exactly. Now, speaking of intuition, I think it's important to highlight one more thing, your own gut feelings as an agent.
Oh, that's interesting. I've definitely had situations where a buyer seemed great on paper, but something just felt off.
Yeah, you have to trust those instincts.
How do we do that? How do we protect our time and energy?
Pay attention to red flags. Maybe they're inconsistent or demanding or disrespectful.
Okay.
Or maybe you just don't feel a connection.
So it's not just about qualifying the buyer.
Right.
It's about qualifying the relationship.
Exactly. And if it doesn't feel right, it's okay to say no.
You can refer them to someone else.
Exactly.
That's such a good reminder. We don't have to say yes to everyone.
Nope.
We can build a business that feels good to us.
Absolutely. And when you're working with buyers who are truly qualified, the whole process is just so much more enjoyable.
Oh yeah, it's like you're on the same team working together towards a shared goal.
And that's what makes this business so rewarding.
Absolutely.
And that's what makes this business so special. It's about helping people find their place in the world, creating happy memories, and building those lasting relationships.
Well said. I think we've covered a lot of ground today on this whole idea of qualifying buyers in real estate.
We have.
I mean, we've talked about insightful questions, emotional intelligence, financial red flags, those tech tools, and even trusting our own intuition.
It's been a great deep dive.
I hope our listeners are walking away with some actionable strategies and a deeper understanding of how to connect with the right buyers and guide them towards their dream homes.
Me too.
And remember, at the end of the day, it's all about building those genuine connections, understanding your buyer's needs, and approaching each interaction with empathy, authenticity, and a little bit of magic.
Beautifully said.
All right, and on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Be sure to join us next time as we explore another fascinating topic in the world of real estate. Until then, happy house hunting.
Yeah, it can be tough for everyone involved. You're putting in the work, showing them great properties, but they just can't commit.
Yeah.
It's like they're terrified of making the wrong choice.
Right, and at that point, it almost feels personal.
Yeah, I get that.
So how do we as agents help them overcome that fear and actually make a decision?
Sometimes you have to challenge their thinking a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. How do you do that?
You might say something like, I know you're looking for the perfect home, but no home's perfect. What really matters is finding a place that fits your life and makes you happy.
So you're bringing them back to reality a little bit?
Yeah, and reminding them that it's okay to compromise on certain things.
Because at the end of the day, a decision is better than your gut.
Absolutely.
I've had clients who overthink every little detail to the point where it's paralyzing.
Oh, yeah, I've been there.
How do we help them tune into their intuition and make a choice that feels right?
You can ask them, imagine you're standing in this house. How does it make you feel? What's your first reaction?
Get out of their head and into their heart.
Exactly. Now, speaking of intuition, I think it's important for agents to pay attention to their own gut feelings as well.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Sometimes you meet a buyer and on paper everything looks good,
Right.
but you just get this feeling that something's not right.
I've totally been there. It's like a little red flag goes off in your head.
You have to trust those instincts.
How do you learn to do that? How do you protect your time and energy when you get that feeling?
Be aware of those subtle cues. Maybe they're not consistent with their communication, or they're too demanding. Or maybe you just don't feel that genuine connection.
So it's not just about qualifying the buyer,
Right.
it's about qualifying the relationship.
Exactly. And if it doesn't feel right, it's okay to politely decline to work with them.
Wow, that's actually really empowering to hear.
It is. You get to choose who you work with.
You can build a business that you truly enjoy.
And when you're working with the right buyers, the whole process is so much smoother and more rewarding for everyone.
It's like you're a team
Exactly.
working towards a common goal.
I think that's a great place to wrap up our deep dive on qualifying buyers.
I agree. We've covered so much ground today.
We have.
From those initial questions to reading those emotional cues to navigating the financial side of things.
And of course, leveraging those tech tools without losing that human touch.
Exactly. It's all about finding that perfect balance.
Hopefully our listeners are feeling more confident and prepared to go out there and connect with those amazing buyers who are ready to find their dream homes.
I hope so too. And I hope they remember that this business is about more than just closing deals.
It is.
It's about building relationships, making a difference in people's lives, and finding that joy in the journey.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into qualifying buyers. We'll see you next time for another exciting episode filled with insights and strategies to help you thrive in the world of real estate. Until then, happy house hunting.